Ew. Smells like it's time for another Shy Life podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Good luck, Stevie.
Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Oh, there's going to be some drama ahead.
All I wanted was a pie, and then I hatched out of an egg.
Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
Hello.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
With a bite. He's not all that shy is right.
Blimey, Governor, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Hello, Paul.
646. Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast The Shy Life.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm all right. So what are we going to be doing this episode? Well, we're going to be talking about music. We've got one of our regular returning guests. It's Lee. He's back. Hi, Lee.
Hello. A regular.
Hello.
Makes me sound like a suppository. That's weird.
Well, you've been again for quite a lot of shows over quite a wide period of time. So.
It has been said that listening to my voice does keep people regular, so it's always there.
I shall have to ask you about that, but let's run the theme music. When we come back, we'll get started. Run that theme music.
Darling, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Yes, but it's a positive thing, Paul. The high life, the shy life.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
I'll go anywhere but potato.
Delicious.
Hello, campers. How are you?
You quite like a Big Bang, don't you?
Oh, yippee.
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. Do you think he has?
I love the Eddie test. It's my favourite thing.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Yeah, I am strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
I could eat my body weight in crisps every day.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
It's all green and it's yum, 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 yum.
Oh, I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
I'd like that, yeah.
Marvellous, Paul.
Hi there.
So, yes, Lee, we're going to be talking about the year 2000 this year, which is where, because I think the first time you and I spoke for the podcast, we just talked about stuff like films or stuff. And then the second episode we did, I knew that I wanted to talk to somebody about the later 90s music, but I didn't know, quite how much longer my other person I was recording with was going to go into the 90s. So we chose 1999. So the last time you and I spoke, we did 1998, but we've done 1999 ages ago. So we're going to do 2000 today. So
New millennium.
I know. There are a lot of number ones in the UK in 2000. There's a lot of some really good ones, and there's some hob ones as usual, but there are some very good ones. So I'm not quite as depressed as sometimes it makes me. But no, there's quite a lot I bought here. So and even number ones that I bought here, let alone other songs. Although we'll come to it eventually, but the biggest selling single of the year is atrocious. I can't but even imagine them. But anyway, but before we go any further, though, I should ask you about your podcasting. What are you doing these days? You're doing so many shows. Even I do quite a lot of shows, but they're only like cameos or guest slots.
It's like, what am I not doing? I had to turn down a panel slot on Loose Women. I said, no, ladies, I haven't got the time. I'm very busy. So I co-present a TV show called Chewing the Cud with my co-presenter Mike, Benny and Roe, and you can find that if you type Chewing the Cud in. I do a radio show on a Sunday night, which is Sunday Late and Live, which is not all about me. I do a little segment on Quirk, sort of strange stories, and then the other thing that I do is part of something called the Pop Gays of a Certain Age, which is 8 homosexual gentlemen who do a podcast about all sorts of different things, different pop genres, boy bands, girl bands. Our latest one that's coming out soon is jeans and a nice top choices. So that's one to look out for. So it's not a rock song, not anything amazing, just a lovely song that you put your jeans on and a nice top and you go for a little dancing.
Sounds great. Actually, some of the songs we're going to be talking about today sounds like they fit in on some of your shows.
Oh, I do think they're it's kind of like, I looked at it, it's the end of rock and indie, and we're now in full-on pop and dance.
Yeah. We'll start with the UK, and we'll start with the singles, and we'll move on to the US and also other songs that weren't number ones and big albums. But the first number one of 2000, which kind of crosses over from the very end of, I think it was the Christmas number one, but it stuck around into 2000. This one does make me depressed because it's Westlife, and it's also Westlife doing covers of two songs that don't really need covering. It was I Have a Dream, which obviously the ABBA version's always going to be best, and Seasons in the Sun, which...
I know. Seasons in the Sun is the original version. Was one of the first songs that I ever kind of had as a child. Although it had come out decades before I was born. It was on like a compilation tape or something like that. It is a weird song. It's about somebody sort of dying, isn't it? And kind of, yeah. But
I think I liked it more when I was a child than I do now. I think I remember quite liking it when I was a teenager, or when I was kind of exploring 70s music. But now it just seems weird and strange. And it's actually one of the longest number ones of the year. So there's so many of them are like just 1 week or 2 weeks. I think 3 weeks. 3 weeks. I think is the next biggest. This was 4 weeks, but I guess one of those weeks was 1999. But
was that song? Was the ABBA track off the back of the ABBA Mania TV show?
I'm not sure. I might have a look.
I have a feeling it was part of that. It was where lots of pop acts of the time did cover versions of ABBA songs, and it was like a TV show. So you had people like Bewitched covering stuff, and Steps and S Club 7. But I think there was people like Madness and The Cause and Culture Club were covering songs as well.
Yeah, it doesn't. I've clicked on the Wikipedia link, and it doesn't really excuse. That does sound familiar, but it doesn't really give it a reason. It says it was included on their second album. It doesn't really give that as an excuse, but I think you're right. There was something like that around then. But moving on, the next number one is kind of weird in its own way. It's the Manic Street Preachers for 1 week with. Now, I get this is I could be a north-south thing, or actually an east-west. Who knows? Because it's the masses against. Is it the masses against the classes, or is it the masses against the classes, or is it the masses against the classes?
I would say the masses against the classes.
Yeah, I'd say the masses against the classes, but then that doesn't rhyme or make or sort of scan like
no.
I think it's supposed to, but I don't know how do Welsh people pronounce masses and classes and class anyway.
Classes and classes, possibly.
I don't know. It's not even one of their best songs. I don't think it's not one that I can even.
No, I can't really remember that one.
It's sort of they'd had their previous two albums, Everything Must Go, and the one that had If You Ignore Us, that one. Those are done really well. Those. But this is sort of. I don't think even this is off an album. It might have. I think I felt like this was a between albums single. And it says it was deleted and removed from wholesale supply off on the day of release. Oh. So the fact it got to number one with only 1 day's set worth of sales shows that they had a lot of fans at that time. But then, it sort of, it probably also explains why it was only number one for 1 week. But yeah, I think was one of their louder ones. But I don't really remember much about. Let's have a look and see how this fits into them having, because they were around from the early 90s and having occasional, or having sort of mid-range hits, but then after about 96 they really did sort of start having like runs of
they became like a stadium band, didn't they? Of kind of selling out huge stadiums that tied in with their albums.
Sort of around before Britpop and during Britpop, their singles were just doing like mid-teens or even mid-20s, with the occasional. Well, their biggest hit had been the theme from MASH, which I think they just did for a covers album, but then. Design for Life was number 2. Everything Must Go was number 5. Kevin Carter 9. Australia 7. If You Tolerate This, Your Children Will Be Next 1. And then a load more top 10 hits. And in fact, they were still having top 10 hits up until about 2007. They did have a lot of. I think their last top 10 hit was one of my favourite ones. Your Love Alone Is Not Enough, which they did with the singer from Cardigans. That was a good one.
Oh, and didn't they write a couple of tracks for Kylie for her Impossible Princess album?
That's right. Yeah. Some Kind of Bliss was the first single, and I think she had done stuff with them either live or on B-sides, which was sort of back when, before you'd expect her to do that sort of. Anyway, our next number 1 is Britney Spears. It's Born to Make You Happy, which I think was that was from her debut album, so she'd already had. Because I think I always feel like she started being successful sort of slightly earlier in the 90s than she actually was. I think it was only really 99 that she started having, with Baby One More Time and all that sort of thing. But in my head, I feel like it was more like 97, 98. But but no. So this is still sort of when virtually everything she did was going to number 1. And I don't mind Born to Make You Happy. I think of all of the American sort of chanteuses, the lady singers, I don't know what you want to call of this era, Britney's definitely my favourite. So, and I pretty much sort of followed her, and I don't think I was buying albums by her at this stage. I was buying. I might have bought singles, or at least watched her on CD UK and kind of thought, I like this one. They were good. I think the lead single from each of her albums was very kind of not novelty, but it was kind of. Then the subsequent singles were less sort of obvious choices. Yeah. I don't really know about sort of album tracks from this period. I around the sort of Blackout Circus period in the later noughties, I did know album tracks and even B-sides, but it took a while. It's like with Kylie. I'm a big Kylie fan, but I don't think I've ever listened to the first. I don't think I've ever really listened much to her Stockholm Waterman albums. I sort of, and the same with Madonna, really. I never really got into Madonna until A Ray of Light as far as albums were concerned. And then I did, throughout all the noughties, really get into that. I think it might have been because I was buying sort of indie stuff that I did like singles, so I bought singles, but I wasn't really thinking, the albums aren't probably very good, sort of thing. And I've never really corrected that, well, there's more from Britney coming up. So the next one, although I feel like this was in the charts longer than it was at number 1. Like, I mean, obviously, but I feel like it was in the charts quite a while. It's Gabrielle with Rise. It was number 1 for 2 weeks. I feel like that was from a film, or
no? I know the one you mean was from Notting Hill, wasn't it? Was it?
Oh, yes.
Was it? But was it from Notting Hill? When you said, I don't know. It was from something, wasn't it? It was.
it has a sample of "Knocking on Heaven's Door."
Yeah.
By Bob Dylan, although that was also made famous again by Guns N' Roses. It doesn't say it was from anything. It says the video was directed by Kevin Godley of Godley and Cream. But
I don't mind a bit of Gabrielle, and she seems like a lovely, lovely lady. But I have seen it in concert, and God, she was dull. But so it kind of put me off a little bit. I was like, oh.
I remember somebody saying when was Dreams her first single? That would have been like 93 or 4, something like that. I remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, I thought she was the sort of person you'd like," and I was kind of at the time I remember thinking, "Yeah, I don't dislike it, but it doesn't really excite me." I think it's because it was probably around the time of, again, Britpop, and I was more interested in that, and Gabrielle just seemed a little bit middle-aged, perhaps, even though she wasn't as a person.
No.
It was a sort of thing that mums might listen to, or a bit like things like the Lighthouse Family and things like that.
Yes,
totally. It's hard to hate them, but hard to think. Well, maybe I'm not the right age group to be. I don't think I'll ever be in the right age group to listen to some of those songs. I think I'll always be a youngster. Be the old. This is that awful idea, the awful thought of ending up in like in an old people's home and then playing music that is supposed to be for your age group, and thinking, I hated this song. Please don't play the greatest hits of Westlife or something.
Oh God!
I just throw myself out. That's been the best way to sort of make everybody throw themselves out of windows and things.
Will themselves to death.
Yeah. But let me have a look and see about Gabrielle because she'd been around
a while. Yeah, she'd done considerable.
She's sort of at her third album by this point.
Yeah.
Dreams was number 1, and then she had Going Nowhere number 9. She had a couple of not so great singles. Then Give Me a Little More Time, number 5. Kylie did Give Me a Little More Time as well, or was that a different song? It might be.
Kylie's was a cover.
Oh, it was Giving Me a Little More Time, not a cover. It's not that same song. No, it's just a similar-ish title. If You Ever, duet with E17, number 2.
Oh, do you know that's a guilty pleasure of mine, that song?
Yeah. Walk On By, that's presumably the cover of the song, number 7. Sunshine, number 9. Then Rise, and then When a Woman what?
If I remember, it was When a Woman Loves Her Man, she'll do everything she can. Not very girl power of Gabrielle, but even by 2000.
Yeah. Oh, Out of Reach, number 4. That was the Bridget Jones Diary one.
Oh yes, yeah.
Don't Need the Sun to Shine to Make Me Smile, number 9. And that was actually in 2001. That was her last big hit.
Chart hit. She never went full on banger. She either was sort of ballad or slightly up tempo, but she never went for a full on dance house banger.
She released that Don't Need the Sun in 2001 was from her greatest hits. Volume 1. Oh dear, it's always bad when you put Volume 1 on.
Yes.
And then you never get around to having a Volume 2 because you stop having hits.
I think more recently she was on The Masked Singer and got quite far down. I don't watch The Masked Singer, so I don't know how far she got. But then she released an album off that with the songs that she sang on that.
Because she had 3 years between the greatest hits and the next album, and then the first single off the next album only got to 20, and the others didn't even chart. But she's probably one of these people who still has, as you say, sort of album place. Yeah, her albums still do okay. She had an album, that Play to Win album, which had that number 20 single. The album got to number 10. The next album got to number 11, and her last two albums in 2018 and 2021 got to 7, and the most recent one in 2021 got to number 4. So,
good for her.
Just moved into being an albums act, really, I suppose.
Yes.
But then that did happen to a lot of people in the noughties at different stages. And if it didn't in the noughties, then it did by the teens. But okay, well, let's go. Now, the next number one, I guess we're almost talking about a vintage act at this point, because again, like Gabrielle, they've been around for nearly 10 years by this point, or maybe not 10, but 7. It's Oasis with "Go Let It Out."
I have no idea what that sounds like.
Sounds like most Oasis, like a mixture of Status Quo and any other sort of band at the same time. Not one of my favourite Oasis songs. I'd sort of lost interest in them by this point anyway. But it was from their 4th album.
I wouldn't even know how I would know some Oasis songs, but I'm surprised it was number 1, and I didn't even know about it.
Only for 1 week, but then that's pretty much part of the course for this year. But the next one you'll definitely know. It was one that was there for 2 weeks, and it was "Pure Shores" by All Saints.
A classic.
Yeah, that's a definite classic. Now that was from The Beach, wasn't it?
The Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, which I think I enjoyed that film, but I think it got slated a bit. I can't remember why. Just it looked very pretty anyway. Nice
because it was based on a book, wasn't it? It was based on a novel. And it was very much because people, like young people, used to go to Goa and those kind of places to like have these hedonistic gap years. But but the video was strange because it wasn't. Although they intercut scenes from the film, the actual action with the group was looked like in a freezing cold beach at night in the middle of England somewhere.
Did they already hate each other by this point? I can't remember. Or were they getting towards hating each other? But
I think they were okay. I think they were kind of laughing a bit because the Spice Girls had imploded and they were still going. So, yeah.
It was the one that was produced by William Orbit, who'd done Ray of Light for Madonna as well.
Yes.
Because did you ever see the movie with, was it 3 of the All Saints? There was a thriller. I've got on DVD. I really like it. It's probably a bit of a.
Is it like a crime, like a gangster type film? Yes.
But they're all really sort of. I think it's Everybody But Chasney, but they're quite sort of. The girls are quite. Is quite girl power from the point of view that they're not some sort of girlfriends who are like hanging on some. They are the criminals, or they are the sort of main characters.
I think at the time, if I remember rightly, Chasney, they were all offered to do this movie, and Chasney was like, "No, I'm not an actress. I'm a musician." So she kind of said, "Well, you go do it if you want to do it, but I'm not bothered." And I don't even think they contributed a song to the soundtrack.
So. No, I remember there being some sort of backlash at the time. I think it being partly because the press wanted to get free tickets to the premiere, and I don't know if they just only gave them out to certain people, and so the people who weren't invited decided to write a bad review. But well.
Okay.
I just remember that happening, thinking, well, why should it just be expected that you're going to get given free tickets to the premiere? Stuff like that. I enjoyed it. I hadn't watched it for ages. I need to find it. My DVD collection, so it would be. So following All Saints, we have, well, here was number 1. I wouldn't say it was Madonna's finest moment. American Pie, her cover of American Pie.
Ugh, awful.
Yeah. That was from her film The Next Best Thing, which
was awful as well.
Yeah, that was a good effort, wasn't it?
Yes, where she wanted to have a baby, and he was played the gay best friend, I think. Yeah, not a career highlight for her.
Yeah, that was William Orbit produced as well.
Yeah, but it still was cack. It still wasn't.
It was. I mean, the only good thing about it is that it was speeded up, and I think they chopped some of the verses off it, because it's one of those songs that when I was 10 or something, I probably thought American Pie was a really good song, but then as I realised how long it was and how shut up.
Yeah, odd choice for a cover of songs, isn't it? It's strange one.
It's one of those ones that people like the chorus, but the verses go on. Oh no, here we go, another verse. But so I think that's the only good thing she did about it, was make it shorter. Following that one for 1 week, we have Chicane featuring Bryan Adams, Don't Give Up, for 1 week. Should I remember that? I mean,
actually, I'm trying. It was the dance, because it was a dance music song, so he'd never really. He's like known for being a rocker, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do they call him the Groover from Vancouver? Oh, shiver. And he did it with Chicane, who was a dance producer, and it was really good. Yeah, it was quite chilled out. It wasn't like a full on sort of EDM track. It was more of a kind of like sort of mid-tempo to Give It Up. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. It was different. It was unusual.
Not like that Tori Amos song where
they took
3 words or something, and you wouldn't even recognise it was Tori Amos from the vocal because it's such a small sample. But
no, I think he did a couple of tracks with Chicane, they were quite successful, I think.
He did very well off that massive number one. He could have gone the other way, and he could have been like, people never wanted to hear from him again. But he had quite a lot of hits, because he'd had. Let me have a look. He'd had 1 or 2 hits in the 80s, and particularly. Well, obviously he'd had success in Canada, but let me have a look. He had Run to You in the UK in 84. 84. And then none of his other singles in the 80s were hits in the UK, or they were in other countries. And then, of course, Everything I Do. But then after that, he had a bit of a run. Of things like Please Forgive Me, number 2, All for Love. Those are not good. Those are awful type ones. Have You Ever Really Loved a Woman? Oh God, that's awful. They're all really big hits though. And then he did things like The Only Thing That Looks Good on Me Is You, number 6.
No, I didn't mind that one because that was a little bit more up tempo.
Yeah, and When You're Gone with Mel C was really good, number 3. Yeah. But he after the number 1 in 2000, he had a top 5 in 2002 with Here I Am, and then after that the hits sort of dried up. But I'm sure he's somebody that still sells albums.
And I think he became kind of like a celebrity portrait photographer. And you remember lots of stuff in the press, and he would take photographs of for the albums of pop stars and stuff.
Yeah. His last 3 albums in 2015, 2019, and 2022 were all either number 2 or number 3. So he still sells albums over here. But he's been around a long time now. Well, let's go back to the charts. Now, talking about the Spice Girls, as we sort of did a moment or 2 ago, we have another of Jerry Halliwell's number 1s, Back It Up, for number 1.
Oh, I love it. I love this song.
Yeah, I like that one. That was off her solo album. I had that one, played it quite a lot.
I loved it, and I loved the performance that she did at the Brits, where she gave birth to herself through a giant pair of inflatable legs. Do you remember that? The infamous Brits performance, yes. And she it was kind of like a Ginger Spice pair of legs, and she came from between them with her dancers that all had pink hair and bunny rabbit's ears. It was amazing. I might have
suppressed that, but it feels like something that I've blocked out, and you've just
you must go and check it out, because it is iconic. It was like, how have you got away with that, Jerry? How?
I still think I love Look at Me, which was her solo number one, but partly because there's one bit where she goes out of tune. It's the bit, it's sort of like the middle eight or whatever you'd call it, where she's it's sort of before it goes into the chorus of the final time, and it almost sounds slightly out of tune when she's, almost deliberately camply. So I never quite worked it out, but it's.
I did enjoy Ginger Spice, and I enjoyed early Geri Halliwell. Now she's like a Tory girl. I'm not so keen anymore. No. She's kind of sullied her notebook. If that even a saying, I don't even know. Marked her cards with me for that.
Yeah. Funnily enough, she was knocked from the top spot by Melanie C, featuring Lisa Left Eye Lopez. With Never Be the Same Again. That was number one for 1 week. And that was off Melanie C's debut album as well.
Ooh.
Yeah. Lisa Left Eye Lopez was from TLC.
Yes. Yeah.
Unfortunately, following Melanie C, we have Westlife again with Fool Again.
God.
Fool Again, number one for 1 week. I won't say anything else. We'll move straight on. But for those who don't know, it probably just have been some dreadful ballad. I can't.
It was something about I'm a fool again. Yeah, blah blah blah.
With the background of people throwing themselves off buildings.
Old people.
Yeah. Next up, we have Craig David with "Fill Me In." That's not his first single. But it's early on, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is again from a debut solo album.
Fill me in. No, I was never a massive Craig David fan.
No, it's all a bit middle of the road again. Then we have Fragma, Tokka's Miracle.
I liked that one. Yeah,
for 2 weeks. I don't really remember that from the title, but it's described as German vocal trance group Fragma.
As soon as you hear the first sort of couple of bars, you will know the song, because it was massive and it was played everywhere for months and months. It is a proper so it stands the test of time.
Yes, yeah. Following that, we have Oxide and Neutrino with Bound for the Reload. And then it's in brackets Casualty. So does that mean it's a dance version of the Casualty thing?
I think it was. I don't really remember it, but I think it was. Yes. Yeah.
Number one for 1 week again. Then we have, where are we now? We're into sort of May time, and we've got Britney again with "Oops, I Did It Again," which is the first single off the second album. And I do remember buying that album because. It was around the time that I used to go to Pop Stars, the nightclub in London, and I just moved into my flat that I'm in now. And I remember sort of getting ready for a Friday night out and lip syncing to.
Okay. Did you do that? No, bit at the beginning. Did you?
Yeah. Right, but yeah.
Only recently I have used that kind of spoken word bit in the middle of the video where he goes, "I've been and got this for you," and she went, "Oh, I thought the old lady threw it into the ocean at the end." And he goes, "But I went for it," and she went, "Oh, you shouldn't have." I've used that recently.
Sometimes I think the other day or a few weeks ago I heard it playing and I thought, oh, this is baby one more time. And I was like, no, it's not. So I think it's kind of like reset sort of. It's very similar to the sort of when it worked the first time. Let's do a single that's kind of.
Don't scare the kids. Don't scare the kids. Let's give them another version.
Yeah. But good fun. Only number one for 1 week, but so that's pretty much everything this year. Then we had Madison Avenue, Don't Call Me Baby.
I like that one.
Is that a new song, Don't Call Me? It's certainly not the Voice of the Beehive song, Don't Call Me Baby.
No. It was. They were Australian, I think. It was a girl and a boy.
Oh, yes.
And they had a couple of hits and then kind of disappeared. I think Don't Call Me Baby was their biggest hit.
Yeah, they're Australian. Actually, in Australia, they had 4 singles and they all went top 10. Don't Call Me Baby was number 2 over there, and their next single, Who the Hell Are You, number 1. But Who the Hell Are You was only number 10 here, and then their other 2 singles didn't do very well over here, but they were still top 10 in Australia. But
I think they had an amazing name for their album. It was something like Polyester Generation or something like that.
Yeah, the Polyester Embassy.
Yes, amazing.
But the album in Australia got to number 4, but in the UK it only got to 74. So, which probably, sometimes it's the trouble. If your single does well but your album flops, then it's difficult. And then our next number 1 for 1 week is Billie Piper's Day and Night.
A banger.
Yeah, that's a good one. Wasn't that it was from her second album.
It was, yes. It was almost rivaled Britney in some ways. It was better than Britney, I think. It was proper sophisticated pop. It's a shame that she didn't. I think she just had enough of being a pop star. I think she was just like, do you know what? Can't be bothered with this anymore. So after the second album, she was like, "See you later. I'm gonna be in Doctor Who."
At the time, it seemed like quite a long break before she, with her, because around that time she married Chris Evans, and and they had lots of fun, and then she did Doctor Who, or just before she started doing acting. But actually, it's only, when you look at it now, it's only probably about 4 years between her giving up pop and starting.
And I do remember watching the first episodes with her in it as when they kind of rebooted Doctor Who, and they were in space or something, and they were playing. They'd found like and they were like a time capsule or something. And I was really hoping that they were gonna the song that was gonna come out was a Billie Piper song, but it was Britney. I think it was in the end. I think it was it either Upside It Again or Baby One More Time. I was like, the irony would have been so amazing.
And they did that on Neighbours not so long ago, where they had a karaoke night, and Paul Robinson was watching, and they had to do a karaoke version to "Don't You Make It Feel Good." And he did, and Paul Robinson was kind of going, "Oh, I thought that was a pretty good song. More about everybody else."
What happens when that happens in soap operas? Just the world, it's like universes colliding and reality shifts.
No, they years ago, when it was the 25th anniversary of Doctor Who, they did a story set at the same time as the very first story, and there's a bit where the companion leaves this bed and breakfast room, and the TV's on, and the announcer comes up and says, "And now the beginning of a new series on BBC," and it just goes dot, and then it cuts to the next thing.
I do. Have you seen her recent TV series, Everyone Hates Susie? Which is really good, and it parodies her sort of life as a pop star. So she plays this kind of woman who was found fame in a reality TV show, and had a massive hit single, and then kind of things slipped after that. The fame slipped away. It's hilarious. It's really, really good.
I saw the first season, but I don't think I have the same TV things now to see the second season. But...
Oh, the second season is good. And yeah, it's quite surreal as well. At some point, you're like thinking, going, "What?"
Isn't it done the same by the same person she did Diary of a Call Girl with? Or,
I think so. Yes.
I recently rewatched the whole of that because I couldn't remember if I'd seen every episode, and I enjoyed that. So moving on from Billy, we have Sonique. It feels so good.
Yeah.
Actually, that was 3 weeks, which is massive
for those times. So it wasn't. Yeah.
And yet I can't really remember it from.
She was a DJ, wasn't she? And she sort of dabbled in music. Shaved head, very tall, a unique voice, kind of like a very. And I think that she only had that hit, and then another one, which was, I think it was I Put a Spell on You, and then I think she disappeared.
Yeah. I've clicked on her Wikipedia page, and there's a picture of her at some award ceremony in 2017. So presumably, her career has continued elsewhere. But Sky was a single. That was the follow-up. That was number 2, and I Put a Spell on You, number 8. So she had 3 top 10 hits, but she has released singles like a lot ever since that haven't sort of charted. But presumably somebody likes her if she's getting invited to big. Apparently, I didn't know is she came to public attention as a member of the dance band S Express during.
She did. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
Next single is by Black Legend. You See the Trouble with Me, number one for 1 week.
I have no recollection of this whatsoever.
You See the Trouble in Me. It's a song by Barry White, so I guess it's some sort of remix, or I don't know if Barry's voice is still on it, or it says they're an Italian musical group.
Right.
It was. Yeah, the vocals were re-recorded, but
was it a dance song?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, probably recognise it if I heard it. Now, we mentioned her earlier, and this was her big comeback. We've got Kylie with Spinning Around.
Oh yes, back to pop.
Yes, she's forever grateful that I lent her those hot pants.
Did she ever give them you back?
No, not
what
whatever,
a bitch.
It's okay. I don't mind. It's Kylie. I forgive her anything. But yeah, this was a real. Even though, well, I think it helped that Can't Get You Out of My Head was the next big thing. It was the first single off the album that followed that. So she had a double whammy of sort of.
And if I remember rightly, I think this was originally written by Paula Abdul for Paula Abdul to make a comeback in the States, but for whatever reason she didn't, and then gave it to Kylie, as you do.
And then she just had hit after hit after hit for years.
She did, yeah.
Probably 10 years, but probably of sort of top 10 hits.
I think that's why those gold hot pants have been put into kind of like in a special storage in a museum in Australia with a lot of her outfits. Because if they ever fall to pieces, that's the end of Kylie. She'll just cease to exist.
I watched a documentary quite recently about her Aphrodite tour from about 2010. That was an interesting. I've never been to a big Kylie show.
Have you not?
But I think a massive stadium one would I'd either be crying all the time, or I'd just be too overwhelmed. But I did see her at a small venue doing B-sides.
Oh, the anti-tour.
Yeah, that was really good.
I wanted to do that, but I just didn't get. Yeah, the best Kylie concert I've ever been, because I've done the big arena tours that she's done, but the best one I did was a couple of years ago when she did like these summer concerts going around the UK to like race courses and country houses and stuff, and she did basically like a greatest hits show, and it was amazing. She genuinely can sing. People knock her, but she genuinely can sing, and she genuinely does put on a bloody good show. Good show.
I always make sure I get the DVDs of her tours, because it's almost like another good way of seeing it, because there's so much going on, and at least you get to see it close up.
Yeah, and she knows that, unlike others, Madonna, that people want to hear the hits. They don't necessarily want to hear a whole heap of new stuff, experimental guff. They want you to do the hits. Do the hits, love. That's what we want. So she does a good balance of new stuff and the stuff that people want to hear.
I really wish more people. I mean, it's a shame in a way that I kind of hope that the pandemic situation, where she particularly and Dua Lipa did TV specials, I thought that was a really good way of. I think they should do those for every album, and it shouldn't just have been because of that. I mean, because I'm sure there's still loads of people who would want to come to a big gig, but I really, particularly the Kylie one, was a really good video to watch, and I was glad that she made it available to buy eventually, because I paid to watch it when it was new, and I think she rescreened it on New Year's Eve, and I watched it then. But then when she did one of the repackaging of the disco album, it was a DVD extra. So
right.
But the Dua Lipa one was good as well. I just don't think I'm going to get to with various health things I've got. I'm not going to get to a big venue. If I haven't done it by now, I'm not going to do it next.
Oh, there's always the little special areas. I'll push you in. We'll hire a wheelchair, and you can slip into those gold hot pants, and we'll push you in.
I don't think she won't let me have them back.
We'll make new ones.
Have you been to the ABBA thing?
I have been to the ABBA thing. I resisted for quite a long time because I was very much like, cartoons. It's a cartoon. And I just didn't think. I was like, oh, it just doesn't sound, you're just watching the but I did go last year and genuinely did have to eat my words, because it was like voodoo. I was like, where are they? How are they doing this?
I would. Again, I haven't, but I want to. But I need to be wheeled in or something.
Genuinely, I had poo-pooed it all the way through and was going. Yeah, what happens if have they got all the pen drives ready? Is there a separate one for each member of the band to stick in? But when it started, I was like, oh my god. Literally, they could be hit. I got a little bit emotional, and I'm like, say, well, it's just pixels, Lee. Why are you getting so upset? But it genuinely is done so well that you suspend belief. And it's one of those things that you kind of. I've had friends that have gone 2 or 3 times. I don't think I'd go again. I'd only go again so that I could go right to the front and see if I could stick my hand through them just to see how they do it. Because genuinely, you're going, how have they done that? And even when the sort of like the song finishes and the lights go down, you can still see them on stage turning round, and it's weird.
If you touch them, though, it'd probably be like that a video. You'd suddenly become pixelated.
Oh, or just burn your hand, burn the flesh away. There'd be nothing left.
Gosh, we've still got so many number ones to do. We better continue. The next one is Eminem, The Real Slim Shady, for 1 week. This must have been the year that he started, was it?
Yeah, that was his first one, wasn't it? That was his first single, was it?
Yeah.
I don't mind a bit of Eminem every now and again. This was kind of like when it was very sort of novelty rap, wasn't it? That he did a beginning with the a bit cartoony before he went a little bit darker.
It says it's from his third album, but I'm not sure if that's because his first two weren't big.
At least, okay.
I don't know. Now I'm here, I suppose we can find out. Really don't want to spend this much time on Eminem, but never mind. It looks like he had two albums. UK. Oh, My Name Is in 1999.
Oh, okay, right. So that was My Name Is.
Yeah,
My Name Is. Yes.
The two singles from the second album did top 10, but this was his first number one. And his following Eminem, we have the Cause, the beautiful Cause, with Breathless number one.
I loved that song. That was a Eurovision song, if ever there was one. Even the ending was so Eurovision; it was unbelievable. That should have been a Eurovision song.
It again, I sort of would like perhaps the odd Cause song, but I never sort of bought. There's a song called "Come On, Come On" by Sheryl Crow, where one of the Cause sort of, I don't know if it's an actual official duet or whether she's just doing the
la la la
harmonies and stuff. But that's probably my favourite Cause song, not Cause. But following that, we have Ronan Keating, "Life Is a Roller Coaster" for 1 week.
Nice.
I think that was more upbeat one, I feel like.
It was, and I think it was written by, I'm going to say, the guy that was in the New Radicals.
Yeah. It had been intended for the second New Radicals album, but there never was a second New Radicals album. Then we have Five and Queen, "We Will Rock You."
Again, a pointless remake cover version, really, wasn't it? It was
more probably an exercise for Queen just to get more hits, or find different ways of doing things, but nothing very exciting. Then we have Craig David again with 7 Days.
Wasn't that his first one? Was that the one where on a Monday I went to the chip shop on a Tuesday?
Well, it's the second single from his debut, but I think it's probably because, I'd say that was the one that previous one we mentioned was his. I didn't realise that was his debut single, but Fill Me In. But that's the 7 Days is the one that got a lot parodied. And
yes, yeah.
Following that for 1 week, we have Robbie Williams, "Rock DJ."
I don't mind it. I'm not mad at that one.
Is that the one where he's stripping off his skin? Oh,
yes. He peels all his flesh off and then starts throwing his organs at models as they go round on
roller skates.
Yes.
I kind of like that video until because you get to see his hairy chest, and then he starts pulling his skin off.
Yeah. And then I think in the end, he's just a bloody skeleton. With pants, yeah.
sort of, goes beyond erotic to horrifying.
To a snuff film.
I do quite like Robbie, and I even kind of liked him after his period of being. Probably in a way, I probably quite liked him after he was less popular, or he was starting to be less, like when he worked with Stephen Din Duffy and stuff like that.
Yes, Rude Box, a very underrated album.
Yes, it is. Then we have Melanie C again. "I Turn to You." That must be about her 4th or 5th single off that album by this point.
I think this was the one that they remixed and turned it into a massive sort of like a Ibiza-style dance banger.
Yeah.
Hex Hector or something like that had a remix with it. Yes.
Yes, we're in August by now, so we're sort of talking about Ibiza discos and discos. Ibiza discos.
Ibiza discotheques.
I read Mel C's autobiography last year. That was quite good.
Is it interesting? I don't know if I find.
Yeah, it was. She was quite nice to us, the readers. She was quite encouraging of us as well. She was.
Oh, that's good.
She was not. I was kind of liked her when I've heard her on podcasts. She seems quite sweet. I'd take her for a coffee.
Yeah, I think I think that she genuinely loves music and wants to be a musician. So all the other stuff that kind of goes around with celebrity, she's not really that interested in it. Although, if I hear her voice on an Ocado advert one more time, I'm going to...
She should do a tour, like travel on the back of her.
Singing and chucking out vegetables to people.
And so somebody like, Mel, I've got a substitute item here. Next up, we have Spiller with Groovejet. If This Ain't Love, of course, that's Sophie Ellis Bextor's big first. Well, she'd been around with the Audience, but this was her first big sort of solo hit, and the Audience was never that massive. So
no, they were trendy, but they never were. They never had a big hit, were they?
I think I read her book like last year or the year before, and I don't think I realised that she wrote the lyrics for that. They had it was just an instrumental, and somebody said, well, a record company said they didn't quite know what to do with her. That they knew they wanted to keep her on, but they weren't quite sure where she was going to go after the Audience. And
yeah, I went to see her last year. Well, I think she was the first concert I went to see after the pandemic with her Kitchen Disco tour, and she was very good. Yeah,
I saw her about like I don't know 7-8 years ago. One of her albums in the teens. And she was really good. And she's very good on stage. She's quite funny as well.
Yes, she is quite funny. She's quite acerbic. Very posh girl. Very posh.
I like her podcast, but she does release quite a lot of episodes, and I've sort of fallen behind a bit.
Is it not about being a mummy? Because I'm not really interested in that. Is it? She's
it's kind of
just a working mum.
Sort of in a quite interesting way, because of the people she's talking to. But yeah, I'm behind. I'll probably never catch up there. Following that, we have Madonna with Music, which was the debut single off, well, not debut single, but the first single off the Music album.
Good song.
The video that had Ali G in the video, wasn't it? I think.
Oh, that's not aged well, has it? Is you Madonna? That's what it goes. Is you Madonna? I do you, and it was like, oh, now you think, oh, cringe.
I was really into that Music album because I think it was. Whereas I don't think I bought Ray of Light like immediately it came out. I think perhaps after 2 or 3 singles, I was like, oh, well, I like all of these, and I did. So Music was the first album that I was eagerly awaiting the new album. Sort of thing. I remember listening to it because I was working in the area I'm living now, and I remember listening to it at Mellon Spring. I can't remember many of the tracks now other than the singles, because that was also the one that had was it the one with the sort of samples, the guitar samples broken up.
Oh, Don't Tell Me.
Don't Tell Me, yeah.
Yeah, when she was a cowboy girl.
Yeah, right,
cow person.
Cow person. Next up, we have another cover version. Well, it's A1 doing Take On Me, which is Maha's song. And I can't remember if that was their first single, but...
no, it wasn't. I think they were a few singles in by this point.
I don't completely dislike A1, but it was more... They did a couple of singles. Was it Lost in the Middle or something like that?
Yeah, that was a completely change in direction, and they went to, and then they just kind of went because they started off as the typical cheesy boy band, matching clothes, dance routines, that kind of stuff, and then they kind of got better, and then I think they're still around. I think they're still.
Yeah, I think so. They were a little bit more handsome by the time they were doing those singles as well.
And then one left and then came back.
Yeah,
if I remember.
Following that, we have Modjo. Or it's spelled Modjo. Modjo. He's a French house musical duo, or they are a French house musical duo with the song "Lady Hear Me Tonight." Is that Lady?
Yeah, Hear Me Tonight. Yes.
2 weeks.
It was definitely a year of those big dance tracks, that faceless acts that we didn't really see the person behind it, and had a huge hit and then kind of disappeared.
Yeah. we've still got about 10 more to go. We're only in September. Next up, we've got another cover version. We've got Mariah Carey featuring Westlife with Against All Odds.
Horrible. Let's move on.
Horrible. Yeah. Against All Odds being a Phil Collins song.
Awful.
Oh dear. 2 weeks, that was number one. Then we have a much better one. We have All Saints Black Coffee for 1 week. But I can never decide whether I like Black Coffee or Pure Shores more.
I think I'd go for Black Coffee, actually.
Yeah, I think I might.
Because Pure Shores you couldn't escape; it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And Black Coffee, although was number one, it wasn't overplayed. I don't think.
Following that, we have U2 with Beautiful Day. I think that was off of Greatest Hits. That was just sort of poppy-ish U2.
I was surprised it was only number one for 1 week. It seemed to be one of those.
Is that the video they had where there were people, they were on a bed and being followed or something, and I'm sure there was one where people from Westlife or
the famous Irish people. Yeah, I don't think it was that one though. I think Beautiful Day was kind of like one of these kind of big sort of stadium filmed type.
Yeah. Following that, we have Steps with Stomp, number one, for 1 week. I can't remember Stomp quite as well. I mean, that was an original one, wasn't it?
But it heavily sampled.
Everybody Dance.
Yes. Yeah. Not my favourite Steps song, but it was okay.
Apparently, they didn't receive. Bernard Edwards and Nile Rodgers from Chic didn't receive songwriting credits until the Greatest Hits came out.
Oh, interesting.
Then we have Spice Girls with Holla. Holla, holla, holla.
Holla, come on. Yes. I liked that. I liked Holla. I didn't like the B-side, like Love Lead the Way. That was a very drippy ballad. But Holla was a good track.
Because did they get as far as doing a next single? Or did they kind of...
They did. I think they did Holla, and then there was I don't think they did. I think there was like a promo track released that didn't have a proper video. It was kind of like a video of the tour of a stage being set up and taken down, and I think that was that. It was
kind of weird because it's not like Holla wasn't a hit, but they didn't do another single until Headlines in 2007, which only made number 11, which was like the Greatest Hits. Following this, we have we have Westlife again.
Oh, why were they always here?
It can't be that long since their last one. I mean, I suppose we're in November now, but It's My Love. Oh my goodness!
I don't
came
know
out.
it.
Came out the day after my birthday. How miserable for me. And then we had A1 with Same Old Brand New You.
Liked that. That was good pop. That was good cheesy pop.
Yeah. Then we had Leanne Rimes, Can't Fight the Moonlight.
I liked that.
That was only number one for 1 week, but I think was that from Coyote Ugly.
It was, yes. Yeah, and it had about 1 million different mixes for every. There was like a country mix, there was a salsa mix, there was all sorts of mixes. So it was kind of one of those where you just picked the one you liked the most.
Mm-hmm. Now around this time, I went to Las Vegas with a friend of mine, where we were supposed to be going for a wedding, and the wedding never took place, but we still had our tickets, so we went, and we. Because we were there and we wouldn't have chosen really to have gone there, we did a lot of people watching, a lot of wandering around casinos and shops, and I definitely remember sort of that being big. And also the next number one, Destiny's Child, Independent Women Part 1.
Was that from Charlie's Angels?
Yes, yeah. Oh, the women.
Question.
We used to, because I definitely, that's another one I think of when I think of CD UK, and there were various songs at this time that Callum and I used to make silly lyrics to, and I think one of the silly lyrics we did for this one was "All the women doing swimming for you."
They, at the time of this year, I'm sure it was the television program Bo Selector came out with Lee Francis, and now it would just not be allowed. But he did this, and I found it very, because it wasn't racist, but obviously it wouldn't be seen good, but he did a skit on Destiny's Child and it was about them standing at a bus stop waiting for the bus, and they were wearing these tiny outfits that they used to wear, and it's been 10 minutes, we need to lard our legs up again to make them shiny. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's whenever I hear that song, that's just to hear is him going, "Time to lard our legs up, girls." It's just
dear. Following that, we've got three more left. We have S Club 7, Never Had a Dream Come True. And yes, number 1 for 1 week. We just lost one of S Club 7, didn't we, recently?
Yeah, sad times for them. But I think their tour is still going ahead to kind of commemorate Paul.
Following that, we have Eminem again with really, it's probably was a bigger song for the person that was sampled from it. It's Stan, which had Dido's chorus. I mean, it's probably the only time I kind of quite liked an Eminem song. I kind of liked the story. I mean, it wasn't a very nice story, but it was kind of it was a bit more creative and interesting than a lot of rap can be. And
I'm surprised it was only. I thought for some reason it was at number 1 for a lot longer than a week.
And I don't suppose there's a lot of difference between like a Gabrielle and a Dido, but I did sort of quite like Dido as far as them being a bit middle of the road. But I did kind of get into Dido for a while.
She was nice. She had nice songs, and she had nice hair, and she was just nice. Didn't she come from like a dance band originally? Like I want to say the one that had the song that was "We Get No Sleep," but I can't remember.
Yeah. It was funny. Sometimes, people release singles, and I'm kind of like, yeah, that's okay. And then they release one single, and it just, I really like this one. And I think it was, she did a single called Hunter, I think, off her first album, which only got to number 17. It wasn't as big as the other songs that she'd released up to that point. But something about that one, I really liked it, and then I sort of thought I was a bit the same with Robin. She'd had her number 1 hits and things, and quite high singles, and she's on about her 4th single, and she did one called "Who's That Girl?" And suddenly I was like, I really like this one, and I hadn't really cared less about the ones before that, and then I did like a lot of Robin, and that and the next album I was really into her, but it's funny, it's not always can take a while sometimes. Now, right, the last number 1 in the UK of 2000 is Bob the Builder, Can We Fix It? For 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Now, the bad news is not only was it number 1 for 3 weeks, but in our list of biggest selling singles of 2000, the biggest selling single of the year is "Can We Fix It" by Bob the Builder.
Well, it was like, I think it was like, was it one of the last kind of novelty songs that happened? But then we've had that sausage roll people since then, haven't we? So
the second highest single was "Pure Shores," and that sold 685,000 compared to 853,000 for Bob the Builder. But I guess there's a lot of kids out there. But
the power of a kids' TV show back then.
Most of the number 1 singles sort of inhabit the top 20 or 25, because there was a lot of number 1s. I'm just trying to see any other big hits that, some years you get songs that are number 2 or number, but which are almost as big. So other songs that weren't number 1, which were big, include "Who Let the Dogs Out" by Baha Men, number 2. Yeah. and then Reach by S Club 7, which I was surprised wasn't a number one. And then Out of Your Mind, True Steppers, Dane Bowers, and Victoria Beckham. Of course, that was the one that was.
That went up against Groove Jet. Yes.
Yeah.
We also that year we had the emergence of Anastasia with "I'm Out of Love," which became the song for all reality TV singing shows entrants to sing, regardless of whether you were male or female.
And the Thong Song by Cisco. Moving Too Fast, Artful Dodger featuring. Oh no, that isn't. Because wasn't Craig David associated with Artful Dodger?
Craig David came out with the Artful Dodger first with rewind when the crowd say "Bo Selector." Yeah, that one.
Yes, that's how Bo Selector. And what else have we got?
We've got a bit of Samantha Mumba in there. She had a big hit, but didn't get to number one. That was a Gotta Tell Ya by Samantha Mumba, where she kind of was jumping on buildings and running down roads and stuff. Kind of a bit Terminator in a pink mask, I think.
Let's see about albums before we go over to America. So very quickly, number one albums, we've got Come On Over by Shania Twain. That was 2 weeks. We've got The Man Who by Travis. That was number one for 5 weeks. We've got Rise by Gabrielle. Standing on the Shoulder of Giants by Oasis for a week. Then The Man Who by Travis again. I think that had been big in 99 as well.
I didn't mind Travis. They were a little bit more melodic than some of the other indie type bands.
Yeah, I was kind of thought when Coldplay came along, they kind of did less good songs than Travis, and yet somehow, did sort of stole their place in the charts a bit. But then we've got Santana, Supernatural, Moby Play for about 5 weeks. We've got Tom Jones Reload. That was that album where he did lots of covers.
Oh, Sex Bomb.
And Tom Jones and all that. Oh well, no, that was Catatonia. But he did do a song with. Oh, he did Burning Down the House. That's what.
Yes, with the Cardigans, and then he did one. Yeah. Didn't he do one with Stereophonics?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Then Whitney the Greatest Hits for 2 weeks.
Oh, I loved that album. That was the one where she was. The front cover was her kind of drilling her gold discs to the wall. And there was 2 CDs. There was like the Slow Down CD, which was the ballads, and then there was the Heat Up CD, which was all the up-tempo stuff.
Hadn't George Michael done something very similar with his...
He'd done the same thing, yeah.
Then we got Crush by Bon Jovi for a week. Reload by Tom Jones again. 7 by S Club 7 for a week. The Marshall Mathers EP. Sorry, the Martha
Majors collection CD.
Yeah, that sounds probably better than the actual album. Let's try again. The Marshall Mathers LP by Eminem for a week. Alone with Everybody, Richard Ashcroft, who was from The Verve. The Marshall Mathers LP again. I hope it doesn't come back.
Collection.
I hope it doesn't come back too many times. Then Parachutes by Coldplay. I see Coldplay were coming on even now. That was their first album. In Blue by The Cause for 2 weeks. Ronan by Ronan Keating for 2 weeks. Born to Do It by Craig David for 2 weeks. Sing When You're Winning for 3 weeks by Robbie Williams. Music by Madonna for 2 weeks. Kid A by Radiohead for 2 weeks. By this point, I was fed up with Radiohead. They got all serious. I mean, they were always very serious, but then they became very serious. Saints and Sinners by All Saints for a week. The Greatest Hits by Texas for a week. All That You Can't Leave Behind by U2 for a week. Coast to Coast by Westlife. And then for 6 weeks, One, The Beatles, which was a compilation album. But I think it was supposed to be all their number ones.
And did it have? If I remember, didn't it have a song that they'd like discovered in the archives or something that they kind of polished up a bit and released?
I think they did that more in the mid-90s because they did sort of reform for some they did a load of albums where they took outtakes and did things, and there were a couple of new tracks that they mucked. I don't think there's anything, although one of those may have got to number one, so it might have been on that number one's album. But right, we need to jump over very quickly to America. So let's see. Number ones, yes. So the first number one in America in 2000 was Smooth, Santana featuring Rob Thomas.
Okay.
Then we've got What a Girl Wants by Christina Aguilera for 2 weeks.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah.
What a girl wants, what a girl needs. I'm available for recording contracts if anyone's listening.
The next number one, I kind of don't even remember this one at all. It's I Knew I Loved You by Savage Garden. No.
Oh, I knew I loved you before I killed you. No, that wasn't the line, but it was similar to that, yeah.
Don't feel like that. I wonder where did that... They got to number 10 in the because I just remember the one about the moon and back and that I Want You one, and
that was the thing. They kind of went a little bit ballady, for a short while. They split, didn't they? They hated each other.
Then we had Thank God I Found You, Mariah Carey featuring Joe and 98 Degrees.
Don't know them.
Don't recognise that one. I wonder if that was
98 Degrees were a boy band, an American boy band that didn't really do that well over here.
It's probably got to number 10 over here. It's probably, gosh, she just liked working with boy bands.
She was rinsing those boy bands out, wasn't she?
She'd done Westlife about the same time.
They probably had a queue in the on the path, and she said, "Right, Westlife got half an hour because I've got 98 Degrees waiting outside, so we've got to be quick turn."
I feel like I can't remember whether she was in the video with Westlife. I remember there being something to do with a boat. I remember if they were actually
they kind of arrived at wherever she was living, but then there was the kind of big sort of about Marcus Fahey looking at her bosoms in the video, and it was like, no, it wasn't really. He was probably going to like that top. Where did you get it from?
Then I Knew I Loved You by Savage Garden came back again, and for just a week. And then Amazed by Lone Star for 2 weeks. Should I know Lone Star? Should I know Amazed?
Don't know that group.
They look like they're another boy band. I'm surprised Mariah Carey's not working with them. They got to number 21 at home, so which might explain why we don't remember it. Then Say My Name by Destiny's Child for 3 weeks. Then Maria Maria by Santana featuring the Product G&B. Now that was number one for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks.
Wow.
Very different from the situation back home. Was it even a hit in the UK? Number 6. So
okay.
But probably not for as many weeks as that. Then we had Try Again by Aaliyah.
Oh, that one like that. Try again.
Try again. Yeah. What was the one she did? Was it about Rock the Boat? Was it Rock the Boat? Or something about the boat?
That one, wasn't that her last single before
that was really
died?
Good.
Yeah.
That was really good. Then Be With You by Enrique Iglesias for 3 weeks. Everything You Want by Vertical Horizon for 1 week. They look like they're a boy band as well. Well, apparently they're an American alternative rock band, but
okay.
Actually, from the photo, yes, they look like a rather rough boy band. So I can understand them being a rock band rather than a boy band. I wouldn't have thought that was a hit here, but I might be wrong. Let me have a quick look. Oh no, number 42. We Were Immune to Their Charms. Then we have Bent by Matchbox 20. They were also in it's because I'm so old now. They all look like boy bands. Even the rock bands look like boy bands. Matchbox 20 look like a boy band, but they're a rock band. It's a rock ballad. I'd sort of heard of Matchbox 20, but
they were, yeah.
That didn't even release that single over here anyway. So, I wonder what they were known for. Have a quick look. Why would I know them? UK. Don't know why I'd know them, because none of their singles. No, none of their.
I think they had a big album.
Yeah, it must have been something like that, because all their singles, they did do singles, but they were like either not in the top 40 or like number 36 being about their highest place. Definitely heard their name. Then we have It's Gonna Be Me by NSYNC.
It's gonna be me.
Is that how it sounded?
Yeah.
I never thought that NSYNC were as big in the UK as Backstreet Boys, but
I think they were shorter lived than the Backstreet Boys, but I think they equaled in sort of popularity as in singles and
the Backstreet Boys always seem to be on CD UK. It's Gonna Be Me got to number 9 over here. So then we have Incomplete for 2 weeks by Cisco. Doesn't Really Matter by Janet. I presume that's Janet Jackson for 3 weeks.
Doesn't really matter. That was off the Nutty Professor or something.
Then we have Music by Madonna for 4 weeks. And Come On Over Baby, All I Want Is You by Christina Aguilera. And with Arms Wide Open by Creed. They were very heavy rock, weren't they, Creed? Don't know whether that would have been a hit here. Number 13. So, I mean, that was back in the day when a band like them could be in the top 40 or could have a top 40 hit. But and then for the last 7 weeks, including that time when I was over in Vegas, it's Independent Women by Destiny's Child. From the film. And big albums in America. All the Way, A Decade of Song, Celine Dion. Then there was X by DMX. Volume 3, Life and Times of S. Carter by Jay-Z. I presume this is the right chart. These don't.
They're like rap, aren't they? Rap and R&B, hip hop.
Supernatural by Santana, Voodoo by D'Angelo, Supernatural by Santana again, No Strings Attached by NSYNC, Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears, The Marshall Mathers LP by Eminem, Now 4, County Grammar by Nelly, GOAT by LL Cool J, Music by Madonna, just for 1 week. Let's Get Ready by Mystical, Kid A by Radiohead, Rule 336 by Ja Rule, Chocolate Starfish Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water by Limp Bizkit. I remember that title. Only because it's ridiculous. The Dynasty by Rock La Familia by Jay-Z, TP2.com by R. Kelly. Very
hip hop and R&B heavy in the album charts in America.
One by the Beatles, Black and Blue by Backstreet Boys. Well, I think I preferred art. I think I definitely preferred what we had over here for our singles, but it was quite a nice mixture. But we'll before we go, I shall give some hints about what's coming up in 2001. But for now, I'll say thank you very much, Lee.
You're welcome. I'm going to lard my legs up.
Yes, I think you should.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be critical, but they look like
they're ashy, terrible.
They look like they need it. Anyway, good luck with all your shows, and we'll meet up again soon to do 2001.
Can't wait.
Okie dokie. Bye bye for now. So I just want to give a hint about some of the bands that are coming in 2001. We have, now let's see, it's another year where there's quite a lot of. We've got. We won't say the songs, but we'll say the. We've got Rue de Silva featuring Cassandra. Sorry. It makes no difference. It's so ridiculous. We've got Jennifer. We've got Jennifer Lopez. We've got Limp Bizkit, Atomic Kitten, Shaggy.
That was a horrible song.
Oh gosh, yes it was. Well, listeners will have to wait for that one. We can tell you though, we've got more Westlife. You'll be glad to know. We've got Hearsay. We've got Emma Bunton, Destiny's Child, S Club 7, Jerry Halliwell, DJ Pied Piper and the Master of Ceremonies. We've got more Shaggy. Christina Aguilera again, Hearsay again, Roger Sanchez, Robbie Williams, Atomic Kitten, So Solid Crew, Five, Blue, Bob the Builder, DJ Otzi, Kylie, Afro Man, Westlife, Blue, S Club 7, Daniel Bedingfield, Robbie Williams.
Daniel Bedingfield. Oh.
So some of the. So I don't think it's as good a year as 2000, but some of those are okay. But I'm sure there'll be other things. It's very poppy.
It is. It is very poppy and very sort of ex-girl band, boy band type shenanigans.
I think I read somewhere that was it 2000 or 2001 was around the time of was that Pop Idol? Because
Hearsay. They feature in 2001.
Yeah,
a couple of times.
Yeah, and they came from like before X Factor, but basically the same thing as X Factor.
Yes, was it Pop Idol or
Pop Idol?
Pop Star? Yeah,
Pop Stars. Oh, Pop Stars. They were both ringing a bell, but
was it Pop Stars The Rivals? I don't know. There were so many.
Yeah.
Were Hearsay pre Girls Aloud or at the? No, they were first, weren't they? Hearsay.
Yes. Yeah. Because Girls Aloud are probably 2002 or 3.
It was Hearsay and Liberty X. Those are the ones that came out of that year.
You just sort of forget that Sugar Babes didn't come from that. You would think that the Sugar Babes had come from a talent contest,
but Sugar Babies weren't born until 2002, so they don't feature.
No, they don't. But it's weird to think that there were still bands or pop bands that were created actually in the old style back in those days. Anyway, right, 2001 next time. Dum, dum, dum.
I gotta go now. Bye.
I want to go with you.
Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
It's been good, but yeah, definitely time to come home now.
Wow.
Really? No kidding.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
What's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast. Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
Well, are we here, Cromitty? We're here because we have to sing some songs from the year 2000. Oh, because Ick's not here. Yes, that's right. All right then. What have we got? Well, we're not going to do I Have a Dream or Seasons in the Sun. They don't come from this era. They're just cover versions. All right then. Manic Street Preachers, The Masses. Again, I don't think I know that one. And no, I don't either. Oh, what about this one? Born to Make You Happy. I don't know that one so well. It's Britney Spears, yes? Yes. Let's go let it out. There's All Saints Pure Shores. No, I can't remember it. No, we can't do American Pie. Oh no, definitely not. Bag It Up. Bum 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 bum. No, don't know that one. There's a ban on Westlife songs and Craig David songs. Oh dear, we're shooting through this year, Cromitty. There's the theme from Casualty. That goes something like that, but it's a bit more dancey. Oh, I do know this one. Go on then. Oops, I did it again. Played with my heart. I lost in the game. Oh, baby, baby. Oops. I'm not that innocent. Oh, very good. Oh, yes, I do know that one. Oops, I Did It Again by Britney. Yeah. What about Billy Piper, Day and Night? Make me feel so right. But today, oh dear. Oh, you were getting there. Oh, I know this one. All right. Yes. I'm spinning around. I lost in the game. Oh, baby, it's game. Oh dear. No, that's not right. Oh dear, you started with Spinning Around by Kylie Minogue and you turned into Oops, I Did It Again. Oh dear. Never mind. Well, what else have we got? Oh dear, I don't know half of these. There's a Queen cover. We can't do that. No. Rock DJ. Why do I feel so good? If you say love, why do I feel so good? Oh, that's Sophie Ellis-Bextor. Oh, thank you, yes. Are we done enough yet? I don't know. Black Coffee by All Saints. Oh, no, I like that one, but I can't remember it for the life of me. Oh, dear. What about Holla, 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 Come On? Holla, 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 Come On. Yeah, that's about all I can remember of that one. Oh, dear. What on earth were we doing in 2000? Actually, I may still have been involved in Sutton Park. I can't remember. Or the controller might have written me out by then. I'm not sure. Oh, dear, Cromitty. I think we should stop there, Yeti Uncle John. Yes, I suppose you're right. Oh, what about all the women doing swimming? Throw your hairpiece at me. I don't think that's the right lyrics. Oh, no, I think that's the pool lyrics. Never mind, eh? Oh, never mind. There we have it. The best of 2000, as sung by us. I don't think we did a bad job. At least no worse than Eek. Oh, don't let me hear you say that. Oh, if only he could hear us. Oh, I hope we hear from him soon. Yeah, me too. I'll miss that silly alien. Yes. Oh, I miss him as well.
He ain't all that shy. No. I've met him. Flabbergasted. Oh, kitty dearie. Kitty. Oh, I love Dee Dee. 646.
600, 400, 600,
646, 646, 646.
Oh my god, is this show over with yet?
This is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard.